Hello everyone, this is my story of how I felt I was treated unfairly by Monash University and how their actions have gone unrectified for a couple of years. The intention of the video is not to cause distress or anxiety to anyone. I'm sorry that I could not be articulate without having a ready made script before me. I prioritize on the audience getting the most accurate and cohesive information. The actions of the individuals mentioned in the video and the ones who supported them have critically injured me and placed me in a vulnerable position. I am therefore in genuine need of support from everyone who cares about human rights. Help me gain justice, and I'll be thankful to everyone who contributes in the process. My name is Chinmay Naik, and I'm a 24-year-old graduate from Monash University, and I have a story to tell of the ongoing trauma that I went through due to unfair treatment from Mr. Nicholas Parkin, the unit head for video journalism at Monash University, and his colleagues who have been condoning his behavior for more than 2 years, notwithstanding its impact on my registered anxiety condition. I have been in the media before, and I think it is time that I rectify the misinformation that has been circulated, which has affected my state of mind since September 2018. What you may or may not have read in the headlines was that it was an assignment about dogs, whereas the actual video was about discrimination against disabled people who held assistant dogs and other pertinent issues in the area of animal welfare, such as the adoption of greyhounds and the need to correct the negative stereotypes about them. The examiner for the task, Nick Parkin, graded this video as 3.6 out of 30, which was 12%, and made certain errors in the observations, and thus marked the task down. And before I could request an unbiased and independent remark of my task, and without my consent or request to him, he stated about 6 hours later that he himself got the task double marked and observed that there was a slightly higher grade in the process, and therefore he decided to give the slightly higher grade, which was 6.3 out of 30. That is 21%. That was 21%. The overall outcome of my unit after this process was 44 out of 100. This was a clear violation of Monash's academic policies, which required the double marking to be independent of the original examiner's grades and comments. By doing what Nick did, he was in a clear conflict of interest while making an adjustment to his own grade, and in doing so, denied me of an evaluation that was independent of his assessment of my video. After making inquiries with Nick about this so called double marking process, he was reluctant to clarify further details and made referrals to other staff members in the faculty who reiterated the same response, claiming that my case for the unit was closed. Upon investigation, I discovered that there was no document of the second marking that resulted in the higher grade of 6.3 out of 30, and the faculty coordinator, Ms. Deb Anderson, claimed that the process as such was entirely conducted verbally. This supposed second marker has not been disclosed to me or the course. These questions have been asked numerous times to Monash in public forums, including courts, but they have blatantly refused to answer any of them, which, in a Supreme Court pre-trial hearing, persuaded the judge to accept that there was an arguable case that Monash University did not follow their relevant policies in their double marking of my video assignment. This meant that the Supreme Court matter was not refused for admission on lack of merit, but on the aspect of remedies that the court could offer as a result of such a non compliance in an actual trial. The remedy that the judge said she could order was for the university to mark the task again, and this was something that had been proposed once before, several months after the results for the unit were declared. However, as any rational person can understand, this was a risky proposition, especially in a situation where I was extremely outspoken within the university about the less than fair treatment I had faced as a result of Mr. Nick Parkin's non compliance with Monash's academic policies, and as such, this remedy was highly likely to be ineffective and prejudicial, since the task would then be graded by the same people in the faculty who by that time had become prejudiced against me and biased towards Nick. Because I was not in a position to accept such a proposal, which could jeopardize my tenable case of their non compliance with procedures, the Supreme Court refused to start a trial on this aspect of my case. Throughout my efforts to obtain critical information about my assignment, I have been harassed, made to feel inferior, and treated with disdain. Alongside the certain flaw in the verification of fail grade mechanisms, it is my understanding that the university refused to make reasonable accommodations for my ongoing anxiety condition. They refused to accept my disability support statement generated by them, which stated that I suffered from generalized anxiety and, due to its fluctuating impact, was eligible for flexibility in deadlines. They called it irrelevant and inapplicable due to its activation after the due date of the task, which at that time was a totally unforeseeable situation for me. I want to bring to everyone's attention a critical fact that my anxiety was long standing, at least a couple of months prior to the deadline of the task, and I had sought appropriate consultation with the Disability Support Department, who did not show any urgency or concern from their end to get the registration process completed. And this led me to believe that the only requirement there was to obtain flexible deadlines on assignments was to provide them a completed form filled by myself and my treating therapist, and support from their end would then be activated immediately and would be unconditional. However, upon giving them this completed form, they activated my support letter but also changed their position and stated that students in general were advised to negotiate with their teaching faculty for the extension process, and this was to be done before the due date of the assignment. However, the part that dealt with advising students in general to negotiate before the due date was conveyed to me only after the registration with them was completed. I think to any student who makes inquiries about accessing support for their individual condition, especially those who show hesitation to seek help for anxiety due to the stigmatization of mental health, this was a critical piece of information which they failed to keep me informed of before this or any individual due dates of my assignments, and I was thereby led to believe that their support would, on a case by case basis, be accessible on overdue tasks. I accordingly sought a 3-day extension from the time my disability document was activated. On the account of the refusal of my disability document, Monash required me to produce an additional medical document recommending and supporting an extension of 19 days in the same time of extension that I had requested to them, notwithstanding the fact that compliance with this requirement would curtail the adjustment they were providing. So, the narrative that has been built so far in the media that I was given a 19-day extension to complete the task on the ground of my anxiety is entirely wrong. The truth is that from the time of approval, I was only granted a day and a half to complete my task, and the approval took almost 18 days from the due date because of the inadequate information Monash's disability unit and my faculty provided beforehand. Therefore, the period that can be qualified as an extension or an adjustment was 36 hours, since I could practically utilize it only after a decision was made from their end. My anxiety was that of a fluctuating nature, and therefore it hindered my capacity to comply with the requirements of the disability unit and or the faculty to get the form completed by my therapist in a certain time from when the task was overdue or before it was due. Mr. Parkin continued to intimidate me through email stating that would I would possibly not receive a grade on the task despite my activation with disability support. I therefore succumbed to the pressure created by Mr. Parkin, and it delayed my response further in signing up with the support services. Moreover, there was another option available to me at the time the first extension was approved to request a further deferral due to it being a final task and by virtue of my registration with the disability unit in Monash's records. However, this was denied to me in the approval email with special emphasis. The applicability of this rule was that if a student was to be granted this second deferral, it could give him time to complete the task anywhere within 12 months from the end of the examinations for that semester. My complaints about these violations of my student as well as human rights have been raised to no avail in various forums that had the authority to recommend or make inquiries with Monash University. As it has been over 2 years in the pursuit of finding justice in the Victorian system, This has had a significant impact on my ability to earn a living, improve my health, make a career, and remain oriented. I struggle with multiple panic attacks every single day and regularly need to seek help from doctors who, in their limited capacity, try and assist me. I am critically injured as a result of these human rights violations, and the amount of time this dispute has gone unresolved has made me lose all my faith in fairness, objectivity, and altered my perception about the world we live in. There has been tremendous apathy in fellow students, other advocacy organizations, and public authorities in helping me gain an equitable remedy for the losses I have incurred. Every moment of my life is a struggle and a painful recollection of how much I have been made to suffer and how strongly and institutionally my protest against an arguably unlawful decision has been opposed. Monash University has united all its resources, and I have felt outnumbered and overpowered on every single occasion. I am in deep distress and need of help. Over the last 2 years, I have exhausted every option in Victoria and Australia as a whole to gain answers on this arguable misconduct and to remedy the situation it has placed me in. I have lost the ability to live in the moment and focus on the future. I feel it is morally and socially unacceptable to treat an individual with a pre existing condition with so much indifference and contempt. I cannot continue to fight alone against such a large and powerful entity like Monash, with its strong presence and support in Australia. Monash has united significant human resources and finances to ensure that students continue to remain subjugated and without recourse. Every person, regardless of their background, deserves an opportunity for a trial for the injustice they encounter, and the state of Victoria so far continues to deny me this fundamental human right. Help me prove that Australia as a country and the world we live in promotes equality and condemns discrimination on an individual's protected attributes. Everything that I have stated in this video is entirely factual, and I hold full accountability towards the information I have shared in this monologue. If anyone requires any clarifications, feel free to email me on chinu95 at gmail.com. That's CHINUNAIK95 at gmail.com. Harassment or online bullying, however, will be reported to the law enforcement authorities. Thank you.